tabletop role-playing news. We aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG.
Hello, and welcome back to Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. Back after a very, very, very rare week off. In fact, I want to say that's the first one we've ever cancelled in 7 years. I think.
No, it's not the first.
I think it's maybe
like
the second.
Maybe the second.
Yeah, we've had some before. Although I did briefly when you had COVID, I was doing some extremely brief. RPG talks, which led to a rather cool format for weekly news blast, didn't it, Jessica?
Oh, I did.
No?
Yeah, well, that wasn't necessarily the inspiration, but
let's pick the introductions anyway. We appear to have.
Yeah. We should do so.
I am Russ, aka Morris, or Morris, aka Russ, and with me this week is
PJ Coffee from homebrewandhacking.com, TTRPG design, and also the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers. As we are going into like our 6th year of continuously doing this, I'm still delighted to be here against all the odds. Speaking of those who are laugh in the face of great odds, it's like I say, laughing in the face of great odds, dealing with the dread beast logistics, which is the bane of all role-playing game companies, which he handles with aplomb and just general coolness. It's the one. It's the only. It's
me, Jessica from EM Publishing. Did you miss us all, dear listeners? And also glad to have you back as well, PJ, because I got my weekly hype up now. So always good to have you here so I can get going. And also thank you to everyone watching live. We are live at the moment, 2 p.m. UK time, but because daylight savings time happens in America at different times, this week and next week it'll be 10 a.m. If you're in Eastern time. But it will be back to 9 a.m.
and then it will be realigned when we hit daylight savings.
End of March
for us. Okay, and then it will be realigned back to 9 a.m. Eastern. It's also confusing. We get confused as well.
So in April it'll be back at 9 a.m. Eastern time, or whatever time zone you live in. You can just calculate that.
Yes. So everyone had a great week.
Been good.
Anything exciting happened over the last 2 weeks that?
Well, I mean, at my club the other day, we had a ninja break-in.
A ninja
around the place. Yeah. Well, I mean, they were from the Discount Ninja Novelty Warehouse, obviously.
Okay, right.
A young person, and I'm pretty sure they would actually catch it. I think some sort of teenager, wearing black with a black ski mask on, was running around the club, and we're like, are you super into role-playing or dress up as your character, or are you in fact up to no good? Turned out, to my actual surprise, it was the latter, as opposed to someone overcome with terminal enthusiasm. And during the course of their exciting running around a shopping centre after hours, they managed to set off the fire alarm. So, eventually it was sorted out within about 20 minutes, and the police came and collected them, as apparently they were known to the constabulary. But yeah, that was...
we know
the worst ninja ever if you're known to the constabulary.
Yeah.
I
like Batman, I guess.
Discount ninjas. Turns out they may be cheaper by them, but they're not necessarily more effective.
Fair enough.
Batman is known by the police as well, so maybe not necessarily means they're doing a bad job being vigilante, but
well, the police know of Batman. It's not like they know who he is, though.
Well, I mean, it says more about Gotham.
He's
PD.
Batman.
Yes, I suppose. Because it's really obvious, isn't it?
Wow, exact same build as Bruce Wayne. What are the chances?
Anyway, we have some tabletop role-playing game news to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yes, there's lots of it, and it's quite a load of different sort of disparate subjects. So, the big news, I think, and let's start with the big news this week, because sometimes we leave the big news to the end. And I think this week, let's start with it just to throw everyone off track. So,
Nice.
So, D&D's virtual tabletop.
Yeah.
Project Sigil, or however else you wish to pronounce it, is no more.
Yes.
I may have put it slightly strongly. It does still exist. However, we heard via Andy Collins, who is someone who's worked at Wizard of the Coast on and off since the mid-90s, worked on various things of D&D, and was on the Project Sigil team. The team of about 34 people. Announced via LinkedIn earlier this week that was the last day that he would be working at Wizard of the Coast. 90% of D&D's Project Sigil team have been laid off.
Wow.
That's 30 people, or over 30 people, leaving a team of like 3 people on the team. Like it was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, that Wizard of the Coast was demoing this virtual tabletop, this 3D virtual tabletop at various conventions and things in the US.
I mean, I read, according to Rascal, because I have not been following this particularly closely, so I saw the Rascal announcement because, like, you know, I foolishly have a subscription to them, because I don't know reasons, and they said that apparently that tech demo went super bad. Did not go well at all. Disastrous was, I think, one of the words used.
Well, there was a sort of internal memo that went out.
Oh.
And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite long. But basically, this was before we heard about it. It went out to the team, telling them what was happening, with amazing phrases such as, most of the Sigil team will be separated from the company this week. That's what they said to the team.
Like surgically, or? I
mean, it's like Henry VIII saying, "Hey, I'm going to amicably disassociate your head from your body." It's such a weird phrase, isn't it?
Like the final throes of people in the full cognitive dissonance of management speak. It seems like what weird way to say it, and a terrible way to announce it as well. You know, no empathy at all.
Have a quick note there.
Yeah, no, we know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, it's actually it is actually Sigil. It's not a US UK thing, as YSGC says. It's the word is sigil. Yeah. The correct word is sigil. That's the sort of rune or the emblem. That, however, the town in the city in Playscape is pronounced Sigil officially
for reasons.
I mean, we pronounce it strange because
we just pronounce it. Yeah,
we're being sigilly.
Yes.
So that's why.
Sigilly, thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying to make it run with silly. So
yeah.
Anyway, we know how it's pronounced. We're just being funny.
Yeah. So they've announced that they are sunsetting, is the word they used. I mean, all this terminology, like the Sigil team will be separated from the company, will be sunsetting future development, you know, things like that. It's you're being fired and we're cancelling the project is what that means. But
they believe making people get a decoder ring to understand their messages is in some way kinder. I couldn't take the rest. It seems bizarre to me.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't fire someone by email, but what can I say? Yeah.
Well, they didn't specifically say who, I suppose. So any individual person wasn't fired by email. They were just told they had approximately 90% chance of being fired by email.
I would hope they would have had an in-person or a very minimum video call with the team one-to-one or as a team beforehand. So
however, we should probably move on from industry best practices in human resources and personnel management and maybe talk about what's actually happening as a result.
I mean, that is fair, but I do want to say there is a big issue in tabletop RPGs when companies grow of HR issues happening. So even if you work in TTRPGs, even though we're doing a fun passion project, if you hire people, you still need to treat them well and be a responsible employer. Anyway, but yes, as PJ was saying, what does this mean, Russ?
Well, They have said, Wizards has said, come out and said that Project Sigil isn't being deleted. So basically, what they've got so far, which is nowhere near the full package that they originally planned to make, not or even close to it. But what they've got so far, they're going to keep. They're going to keep a small team, which I assume is going to be like 2 or 3 people, just to maintain it and keep it running, essentially. And they're going to transition that over to a D&D Beyond service.
Right.
So I haven't actually used it, but
I think
what they got as far as making was largely just kind of like the map building aspect of it, I believe.
I mean, it looks really nice. We've got some pictures on screen on the live stream if you're watching, and if you're listening, if you go to the link in the show notes, there's pictures in the news articles. So it looks really nice. I signed up for the access, and I was going to have a go on it, and so I could talk about it on the stream. And to my shame, I have not made the time to do that. But yeah, it does look really nice. But I don't know if it's just what people wanted from a VTT. Like for me, I want something really simple. I just want maps so we can measure the distance and show where people are.
Yeah, which is what their maps thing does.
Yeah, and also, excuse to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 this week. Someone has modded and made accessible new adventures on Baldur's Gate 3, so they're almost using that tool in this way. Now, obviously, it's not exactly the same as a VTT because it's a digital video game and the rules are slightly different. Yada yada yada, but I imagine that could be a tool that you use in a TTRPG. And if you can make, obviously, the adventures they've made don't have like voice acting and cutscenes and anything like that, but it does have all the locations and setup like that, which is kind of feels a bit like what Sigil is.
Yeah.
But
and it's sort of like not without precedent, things like Neverwinter Nights, as I recall. You were quite into that, weren't you, Russ?
I was very into Neverwinter Nights at the time.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a potentially a lot of growth there. But I think, speaking as an indie game developer, I'm just wiping my brow in a big sigh of relief. I mean, heart goes out to the people who were sacked, because that's never fun, being fired when you've done your absolute best. And even from what I've seen, it's a technically impressive achievement. They've done like lots of really good stuff. Not where it was wanted to be by others, but it's what it is sometimes. The reason I'm having a sigh of relief is because,
we lost PJ.
as I have said before, if Hasbro had released like this whole Sigil thing has a free.
Yeah, we appear to be losing Peter slightly here.
VTT. With good assets, good support, an online market. Oh dear. Have I just been talking to myself while it's all been lagged horribly?
On and off. You're cutting in
I think
and out.
you were saying, as you've mentioned before, had the project been made available free for people to use as an indie developer perspective, and then I'll pass back to you to continue your point, PJ.
Oh, that would have been pretty awful, because traditionally people come into other role-playing games and to the third-party sphere, often passing through Dungeons and Dragons on the way. I mean, a lot of people stop at Dungeons and Dragons, and why not? But passing out would be from Dungeons and Dragons would be much harder if you are used to a certain standard of VTT and like just don't have the resources to compete. I could do you a nice book, but I can't do a VTT. I'm not a programmer, and quite frankly, you know what? It's not one of the things that's in my skill set. I'm not going to be able to learn it. Just how it is for me. There's quite a lot of things you have to learn to do a book as an indie game developer, whether you want to or not.
So I don't want to interrupt them. We have a special guest in the audience. Malak the Maleficent is here.
Oh, right.
Hello.
That will be my brother Darren. Hi.
We've not had Malak on the podcast for a while, actually.
Yes. So Malak is in the audience. in the chat, you are blessed. I can't do Maddox's voice, unfortunately. You may applaud me, he says.
You may applaud me.
Yes. Yeah.
That's much
yeah,
better, PJ. Yeah, let's say.
Yeah. Much better, much better. It's a shame we can't just stream like little bits of audio onto it, so he could say something. But for those who've missed,
we
Maddox
do,
presence,
but I didn't have it. I don't have it ready.
Yeah. For those who have missed Maddox's presence, because Maddox, when we were audio only and pre-recorded, Maddox did a lot of the introductions and interstitial bits. Unfortunately, now we're live. Unfortunately, Maddox has had to be what's the phrase? Separated from the team.
Oh, I've been sunsetted from the team. Honestly, you think it was like they can't afford 2 groats per advertisement. These people, I don't know, in publishing, they're just not up to much, are they?
Yeah. Anyway.
But anyway, going back to the VTTs, someone in the comments has mentioned, so the advantage that 3D VTTs have over the simple 2D ones is elevation representation, which is very true, which I hadn't thought about. So if you have a flying creature or something like that.
You can say the same about a Chessex battle map and a Dwarven Forge setup, can't you? It's like, it does look amazing and it does do all this stuff, but are you going to do that every single session? I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, so about going back to talking about Sigil, I guess having a team of 33 people is expensive because obviously that if they're like coders and developers, they demand a reasonable wage for what they do because they're skilled professionals. So, and if people just aren't interested, I guess it wasn't just, and especially at the launch, if you launch it when people are going to be most excited and join and going to use it to try it out and it's a bit of a flop, then it's like, oh, we can't afford to keep this going. Like, I do kind of get it.
Yeah.
But even the demo they did that one with the Baldur's Gate 3 actors, and they did it was like a live demo. I think we talked about it a few months ago. It was at a convention. I can't remember which one now. But they did a demo of it, and the game was flowing really well. It was going really fun, and everyone was like, yeah, this is a great time. And then they got the tech out, and it kind of slowed the game down and made the game a bit awkward and clunky, and just it lost the vibe because everyone was kind of flowing and having fun, and then it was like, oh, this is working. And of course it was a demo, so the tech wasn't going to be 100% there, but I do feel like sometimes tech does that, like in tabletop RPGs. And someone in the comments has Damien's mentioned that folks want to rely less on tech when they're playing TTRPGs, because I feel like that because I love digital games. Like I play a lot of digital games and things, but I'm looking for a different experience from tabletop role-playing games, and I sometimes feel that tech can get in the way for that. I'm always going to prefer playing in person compared to over online.
I think because the tech is not quite good enough. It's really good. It's really good. Things like the virtual tabletops out there are really, really good, but they're like 99% of the way there to simulating a sort of seamless experience. But that last 1% or 5% or whatever just interrupts too often and slows things down too much to make it not quite there. And maybe it will get there one day. But really, it needs to be so effortless and so seamless that you don't know it's there, really. That's the best tech, isn't it?
And I think it's really useful if it can do that for online play, because sometimes, like, there are some people that live far away from me, or they have care, responsibilities that means they can't leave the house and come, we can't meet in person. And I love playing games with those people, so I'll do it online. But if there was a way that made that easier, which I feel like a lot of VTTs are trying to do, that would be really great.
Yeah. Anyway, farewell Project Sigil, I guess. I mean, they still have their maps thing, so like inbuilt into D&D Beyond, they still have their maps VTT, which looks pretty cool and pretty.
And that works really
simple.
well.
Yeah. So, and that I think is probably closer to what I want from a VTT. Something really simple and quick to use. That's why I use Owlbear Rodeo in my online games, just because it's so easy to use, and I'm not spending all my time just trying to battle with the UI or get something to work or messing around with settings and things like that. Which is not what I play for.
No. I very much enjoyed using Roll20 for dynamic lighting.
I always found it too fiddly, you see. Even Roll20 was too fiddly for me.
I was quite happy to use it, quite happy to play with it, even Foundry. But a lot of what I want in online role-playing is being able to see people and being able to have like the bells and whistles available. But getting people who I get people sign up. I'd be like very clear. What I want to do is I want to run a game. I need to be able to see you, and vice versa, because that's just like part of what makes it feel like a social experience for me. Otherwise, it feels like a bad audio play. And I've had excellent games. I know they're excellent and they've been run really well, but I've just really struggled to focus because I don't have that visual element.
Oh yeah, I would have that same problem. Yeah,
and it is what it is. But it's just like I've had people sign up with me dressing vaguely. It's got to be a cameras on game, and they're just like, oh well, I don't want to switch it on, or my computer can't handle it, or oh, my internet connection can't handle it, and it's fine if you can't do that. But I just like it just makes me dispirited. I just don't want to run online or even play online anymore because people just are like, no, we just want to have voice only.
I can't. I if it's voice only, I'm checking out. I can't help it. It's just the way my brain works. I can't.
Yeah, same.
It's even if you're in a meeting and half the team is like not got their video up. The way my brain works, I find it really, really hard to remember to include them. It's really. And I guess that is on me to an extent, but it's just so hard to do.
I mean, that's just running. Playing, I become a much worse player, and it makes me sad. I feel it's disrespectful, so I've just decided to stop doing online gaming which is sad, but it is what it is.
Right,
anyway, moving on.
More news, more
yes.
news. Yes. So let's talk about DriveThruRPG. And let's talk about print prices.
This is fun.
Yeah.
So this was a couple of weeks ago, but obviously we missed the week last week, so it's slightly older news. But DriveThruRPG sent out a notification to creators that the cost of print-on-demand books is going to be increasing from April the 1st by as much as 50%.
And this wasn't an April 1st April Fool's prank, just to be clear.
It is not an April Fool's prank. No.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bit more to this story, I feel, but
there is. I'm getting there.
We will elaborate.
We're going some clickbait stuff here. This is shocking. Yeah.
I got halfway through the sentence. It depends where you are, and it depends what type of book you're printing. But DriveThruRPG uses a company called Lightning Source for its print-on-demand stuff, and Lightning Source has printers in the US and in the UK. So this affects those two printing companies differently. Someone's just asked in the chat, is it 50% or 50? 50. It's the big number. It depends on which book it is. So it's up to 50%. 50% is the worst one. So it mainly affects black and white books.
Yes. Yeah.
Which are in the US increasing between 20 and 50%.
Yeah,
depending
on size as well, I think.
In the UK, they're increasing, but only like 3 or 4%. But in the US, up to 50% on black and white books.
Yes,
that's hardcover. Softcover books apparently have an even greater increase. So black and white soft covers are going through the roof,
which is a big deal. But we'll move on.
Especially for the OSR community, because they do a lot of those because that's part of their aesthetic.
No,
I mean, I was going to say, because like that is a big deal, and a lot of zine type productions, like the ASR stuff, like having it in black and white. I mean, it's like very, very tough, and like it's not the sort of price rise like a publisher can swallow. Like,
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's the news on color books isn't quite as bad. 12 to 13% in the US. It's still not good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but
I think that's standard color. No.
Yeah. So I did some ran some numbers. So, for example, to print a 300-page black and white softcover, which is maybe like the core rule book for a game in black and white, that is going to go from the printing cost of $8.32. Is what it would have cost you to print that, to $13.73. That is quite a jump.
I mean, it's like not quite doubling it, but not what you want to see. I mean, it depends on your margins as well. Like
that's what I mean. For some,
if you're printing in black and white, it's because you're trying to keep your costs as low as possible. And that means you're probably going to be operating at a reduced margin, so you're still making some money per copy, but it's possible that this sort of increase may wipe out that margin, at which point you don't get any royalties, and you might not even be able to sell the book at that price in the first place. I mean, some rare cases, I would hope, it may mean that the books then will go. Have they said what will happen if your book costs more to print than your sales price? I imagine they probably just up the sales price automatically.
No, it'd be physically impossible to set that at that.
Yeah.
I think the people that this would affect worst are people who have run a crowdfunding campaign recently, but who are fulfilling after April the 1st. So they've charged printing and shipping based on the figures at the time, and now the figures have gone up by as much as 50%. That could theoretically, and hopefully it hasn't done for anyone, but it could, I can see how it could, actually make a successful crowdfunder go into a loss.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, fortunately for me, it's like it's within acceptable margins. I still am finalizing the page count because
I mean, you're not black and white, fortunately. So that...
No, I'm going with full color because like that's my personal aesthetic. I enjoy like a bit of black and white, but also I really want my books to be colorful and pop because that's I guess is sort of the age I came in to the full role-playing games was your like my socialized expectations are like a nice D&D style A4 full color book, and that's my aesthetic. That's what I like. But yeah, I can see it's definitely not something I take casually. I was just quite relieved it was not going to be too bad for me.
Yeah, I mean the reasons for these price increases, obviously, DriveThru hasn't specifically said why, but most people are assuming this is tariff related.
Well, I mean, what costs does a publisher incur?
Well, it sounds like it's at the printer end.
The printers.
It's the cost of the paper itself, which a lot of which sounds like it's imported.
Well, yeah, I mean,
not made domestically, especially from Canada.
Canada has a lot of trees. I hear that's quite important in the paper manufacturing industry.
So that, I mean, they haven't said specifically that's what it is, but that's kind of what the general sort of people are saying.
I mean, hard to see why Lightning Source would turn around to their long-term customers and say, "Hey, 50% price rise. How about it?"
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's very little to justify that sort of thing, especially for the volumes that they do.
Yeah. And the problem with this sort of thing is it's so changeable at the moment. It could affect the UK print runs soon if new tariffs come into effect. It's so hard to.
Well, the thing about tariffs is that there are tax that a US tariff means it's a tax that US customers are charged by the US government on the materials that are being imported. The people from the country selling it into the US, they don't pay. It's the US customer
unless they decide to eat some of it in order to encourage US customers to continue buying their products. I mean, it does happen. They do subsidize it sometimes and things like that. But you're right.
Yeah, could happen. But on the whole, a tariff is a tax that your government is charging you to import a thing. It's not a charge that goes. It's not a charge that goes to the supplier. That's not what the tariff is.
And the supplier doesn't get any more money either.
No.
Just to be clear.
They become less competitive. The idea behind a tariff is protectionism, which is that a domestic
to encourage domestic production.
But like anyway, not how the world has worked for quite a long time.
So basically, I mean, the effect of this is you're going to see print on demand books going up on DriveThruRPG. I am going to assume, and I don't know for sure, that this is going to affect offset printing in the US as well. Should you be printing in the US? I mean, I don't know for sure, but I assume it probably does. Doesn't affect us because we print in Lithuania
Yeah.
Oh, it does if we print in China, because there are tariffs on China, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we mostly just use that for our box sets that can't be made in Europe. But our books are printed in Europe, luckily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just, I don't know. It's not good news for anybody. Nobody wins with this. Nobody wins.
No, it's terrible news for the TTRPG industry in general. Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but there are forces beyond our control at work here.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Has anyone got some good news? We've just had 2 bits of bad news. Let's have a bit of good news.
do you want to talk about geese?
Yes, you wish. Do you wish to talk about geese, Jessica?
When do I not?
Is that a thing that you want to talk about?
It is. So there's a fun crowdfunding campaign for One Honk, Two Furious, a Goose-Based TTRPG. So we previously, when it came out at the time, mentioned HONK, which is the Goose-Based tabletop RPG with its own unique HONK system. It's fun. If you want to know more about the system, I did an interview with them on Not D&D. But yeah, so this is a sequel. The original is One Honk Before Midnight. It's got new adventures, new perks, new abilities, a pre-made gaggle for you. So it's just an add-on, with that, with new things for it. And, I think a lot of people need to have a healthy respect and fear for geese. I don't think enough people do. Some people were not chased by a goose as a child, and it shows. But yeah, and I think this.
By which you mean most people?
As an alumni of York University, I am extremely familiar with the dangers of geese and also swans.
Wait a minute, Jess. Didn't you say you were also chased by a badger at university?
Yes.
How many different species of wildlife have chased you? And why? What are you doing to them?
Nothing. I just
Why
live.
are they all chasing you then?
I just live in rural. I've lived in rural locations where wildlife is, and sometimes they don't like humans being there.
Badgers and geese.
I'm just going to say, wildlife are as vegetarian as their options.
Correct. Geese would absolutely kill me, and not even food, just for the joy, just for the fun of it. But yeah, I have been chased by geese. I've been chased. That was as a child, which was terrifying because the goose was taller than me at this point because I was like 4, and we went to feed the ducks at the park. And anyway, and yeah, the badger was when I was at university because they built the new university halls on a patch of field where a badger lived, and the badger refused to move and was like,
happy about it.
Yeah. So, but that's the main ones that sit in my thing. Seagulls as well. Because I lived in Bournemouth for 10 years, I have been attacked by seagulls because I had food. So, but yes, anyway. And someone in the chat, their nephew is chased by a blue jay bird. So
good to know. Yeah. Anyway, the cover for HONK 2.0 is a pair of Canadian geese with that distinctive brown, black, and white plumage, who appear to be holding placards, homemade. One of which says "Eat the Rich." So I feel there's like some sort of political element coming in here.
Well, anyway, there could be.
There's miniatures.
It has miniatures.
I'll just scroll down. There's miniatures. There's miniatures of geese with hats and things.
So it has a 2d6 dice system. So if you're familiar with like Monster of the Week or things like that,
there's miniatures of 3 geese in a trench coat.
Yes.
With a hat on top.
Indeed.
Oh, wow. Do I sense a backing of a Kickstarter in your future? If only for the sweet minis alone. Oh
wow!
Wow! So you see why I'm sharing.
I did not see that coming. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
No one ever sees 3 geese in a trench coat coming.
Could this be the latest $1 million Kickstarter? That's the question we've got to ask.
It's got 9 days to go, and it's made 34 grand, but it's still doing very well.
That's not $1 million, but it is good. Do you want to talk about $1 million Kickstarters?
3 just in the last couple of weeks. We went from 0 to 3 in just the last couple of weeks.
My goodness. Well, tell me about them. What should we start with?
Okay, so, should we do them in the order? So the first one was Shadowdark. Yes, the Western reaches of the Arcane Library. We've had an episode all about Shadowdark, actually, if people want to dig through our archive. But
we did, yes.
Yeah. With an interview with the
Shadowdark.
designer, Kelsey.
Yeah. Yep. Shadowdark shot past $1 million on its first day.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. It looks set to come in about sort of 3 million, I think, in total. It's doing very well.
Nice.
It's at over 1.5 million with nearly 3 weeks left to go so far.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doing incredibly well.
I mean, we are looking at a big collection of books here, by the way, for those listening along at home. Are the offering that we can see that we're proposing, they're offering not one but two chunky, I'm probably going to say A5 books.
Yes,
letter
A5,
or something,
yeah.
I don't know, but which is
digest
the
size,
smaller
I think
version.
the US called it.
Digest, that's good to know, thank you. So you've got the digest style books. They've got like a party on one cover and looks like maybe a troll and some goblins on the other, and they're advancing, which is very nice. And they also have 1, 2, 3 copies of Cursed Scroll, which I believe may be a fanzine that supports
well, it's not a fanzine because it's produced by Yargan Press, but it's it's the magazine for the
official
Shadowdark,
magazine
the official one, not a fan one.
Arcane Library,
So one of those books is the Player's Guide to the Western Reaches, and the other one's called the Game Master's Guide to the Western Reaches. But this is just a setting, though. This is definitely an expansion of the rules because it's got new character classes and ancestries and all sorts of things. You know, it's an update to the game itself.
Sweet.
It looks amazing. And it's doing so well.
Looks amazing.
But that's one. That's number one. Of 3.
What's next, Russ?
So we also have now in the $1 Million Kickstarter Club. We also have from Monty Cook Games. We have got. Let me grab it. We have got for the Magnus Archives RPG, Tangled in the Web, which is a bunch of adventures for their Magnus Archives role-playing game. Which snuck over the $1 million just in the last few hours. I didn't think I was going to do it. It looked like it was
That's why it's not in my notes.
It was at about 800,000 like a couple of days before, which realistically looking at it, I was like, no, it's not gonna make it. But it did. It rallied and had one of those now unusual upticks at the end, which doesn't tend to happen so much these days. And shot over the $1 million mark, $1,015,000.
Wow, nice.
So shot over by just $15,000, but that's from Monty Cook Games. That's their second $1 million crowdfunder.
Nice. Oh, I'm really pleased with them. That's good.
So that's that, and then the third one, because there were 3 all within 1 week, was the Fallen London role-playing game from Magpie Games.
Yes.
And again, this did the same thing. Snuck over 36,000, just over the $1 million in the last hours. Snuck over, just about squeaked through, just about made it. So the official Fallen London role-playing game, which is also Magpie Games' second $1 million Kickstarter, and they did Avatar, of course, which did $10 million.
They did the Powered by the Apocalypse conversion of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the well-known children's TV animated series.
So I don't know a massive amount about Fallen London. It's a video game, isn't it?
There is a video game of it,
Yeah, it's like one of these weird ones where it's like got a timer. So you do some actions, and then real life time has to elapse before you can do more actions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just looking at this. So Victorian London is now located in a gigantic cavern. Interesting. So that's what that's about.
So it fell.
It fell, and that's why
Hence the Fallen London.
Yes, apparently. So yeah, 3 $1 million Kickstarters. Suddenly crapped up out of the blue in the last couple of weeks. Just like that.
I mean, it's nice to see for the industry, because we were commenting the other day, just in our team meeting, we haven't seen any $1 million Kickstarters. Is
None
this
at all
a
yet
trend?
this year. Yeah,
Is that a thing? Is because sometimes when D&D brings out a new edition, although of course, as we know, the 2024 rulebooks is not a new edition, you can see a slight depression in the rest of the gaming industry because everyone's busy, distracted with the new D&D stuff. So that can happen. So wondering if that was happening there. But it's good to see that there's other TTRPGs that are getting well supported and joining the $1 million club.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the effect that there have been less big 5e Kickstarters over the last year.
Yeah, because I think... Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was saying just exactly because of what I was talking about with... Because there's the new 2024 rulebooks. If you're really into your 5e, are you saving your money and spending it on, the new Dungeon Master's Guide or the new Monster Manual?
Yeah, I think there's basically two effects going on now. One, creators are holding off because they're waiting to see how that all plays out, and also there isn't an official SRD for 2024's edition yet. Not that you need one to make stuff; you can do it perfectly well with older SRDs. But some people just like to get the official word from on high, don't they? So creators are holding off to an extent, and of course the backers are holding off for two reasons. One, they're spending money. A lot of people have limited budgets. They're spending it on the new edition, but also even those that aren't necessarily like limited by their budget are just holding off because they're just not quite sure yet. What things what they're going to be playing, what things are going to look like, what they want to buy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, there's an element of that too. So there's been a lot less big 5e Kickstarters in the last year, but I think that will start to pick up again this year. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, it seems likely. I think there's still growth potential, but there's just like I think a lot of people are finding themselves quite distracted lately and have other things on their mind rather than role-playing games. But
that's also a really valid point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe people are looking for things to distract them from
very true
other things, It's hard to predict what effects all these things have. Yeah. So, but anyway, congratulations to those three companies on their $1 million Kickstarters. Yes. And there's another Kickstarter I wanted to mention that's not going to do $1 million, but it's still, I think, significant.
Oh, what is it?
It's Castle Zagyg.
Oh, yes.
So it is basically Gary Gygax's big castle, basically from his home game. And Troll Lord Games are doing this with the assistance of Luke Gygax and the family and other contributors. But this is basically a great big things like three different books, which basically present to you the entire kind of legendary castle in full for the first time ever.
It's three. They look like really quite significant hardbacks. That's if we were still able to measure the weight of things on this podcast, a throwback to several years ago, then I reckon we'd be looking at the thick end of 5, maybe even 6 kilos. That's a lot of book we got there. You got the Citadel, the Ruins, and the Cellars, which has it looks a bit like an aqueduct with going over a canal, and we've got the Ruins, which is pretty black, has a hill and a skyline with maybe a altar on top, and the Cellars, which is it's basically a wall with a black door in. It's very ominous, but no expense made on the covers.
And what's interesting, this isn't all of it. This is the first of 2 Kickstarters.
Right.
So that's 3 volumes of Castle Zagyg. In a second Kickstarter, which is coming out in 2026.
Okay.
There's going to be the Dungeons and the Caverns, volumes 4 and 5.
I see.
So it's not even the entire thing there that you're looking at.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Exciting.
I mean, I thought you were going to then tell us what
the
more
Castles
was.
and Crusades.
No, Russ already had.
It's not a game that I play, but
No, I mean, fair enough. Do you know anything about Castles and Crusades? The name rings a bell, but
I've never played it. I know of it basically, but I've never played it. It's an OSR game, one of the bigger OSR games. Produced by Troll Games.
Yeah.
I know that Gary Gygax, before he passed, was working with Troll Games on Castle Zagyg. I mean, this would have been like 10, 15 years ago, I guess. But and they've been working on it ever since, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah. Castle and Crusades is an OSR old school game. Anyway, that's Kickstarter's out of the way. That's the Kickstarter I wanted to mention.
Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What else have we got?
Not a Kickstarter, but something that you can buy as a bundle, if you will. You can humbly pick up some Dragonlance, if you like, in this humble bundle.
Yes.
I mean, I mean, we had a Dragonlance campaign that we did with A5E, which was very good fun.
We did,
actually.
Yeah, we did indeed. We played Dragons of Despair, the first module in the Dragonlance Adventure Path.
That was very fun.
The original
anyway,
trilogy.
But Humble Bundle has gives you the entire trilogy plus like 23 more apparently. So this is a big bundle, loads of books, and it's on there. I'm just trying to see.
It's about 20. Yeah, it's about 25, 26 different Dragonlance novels. Basically,
it's $23.
$1 each.
That's amazing for all those books. So if you like your Dragonlance, that Humble Bundle deal is worth looking at, really.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at the list, because there's been a lot more Dragonlance books than just those 26 or so. But looking at the list, so you basically got the two big trilogies. The Dragonlance Dragon War of Big War. Oh God, I can't do my words. Russ, do your words. The War of the Lance. That's what I was trying to say. War of the Lance.
There we go. Oh, we've got that amazing cover up as well, which is, I think, from the compendium of the first three books of the War of the Lance. You've got that amazing, I think that's Kitiara at the back, has a Dragon High Lord behind a lot of very cool looking
Tanis and Chica, that was it.
Yeah, well, I was referring to the looming figure at the back in
that would be Kitiara,
yeah. But you've got you got Tanis and Laurenthalas. And is it Tika? You said, yeah, you said Tika. Yeah, just generally, yes, it's like definitely a very powerful cover. And
Kitiara's Dragon Sky.
Yeah, deep cut, good stuff there. A blue dragon for those who are listening along at home, as I say. But yeah, it's a great cover. All right, I mean, War of the Lance is good. And that was like, that's like one of the big questions that we've currently still got in the D&D sphere, how to, an unsolved question, if you will, because Hasbro has had a shot at it with their board game conversion to let you do mass battles, but we have yet to see really satisfying mass battle rules implemented in the D&D sphere.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to do it with the Dragonlance, but was it last year or the year before? And they tried to play the board game, board game.
Kryn, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
I can't remember what it was called.
War for Kryn or something like that. Yeah.
I can't remember.
But they had basically a board game that was a separate game that you were supposed to stop playing your role-playing game and play this instead. And I'm like, I hear where you're coming from, but that's not it, man. That's not it.
You go back to the original Dragonlance modules, just interestingly, there were like 14 odd of them or whatever, but number like 12 or 13 or something, I can't remember which one exactly. So they're all adventures. They're all like those sort of TSR era sort of booklet adventures with a DM screen that folds around them. So number 5 was a little mini source book, and number 12 or 13 was a war game. And you'd open it out, and it was all paper. It's all paper. So you'd open it out and open up this great big map, and it was a big map. It was sort of like dining room table sized map, and there'd be little cardboard tokens, square, and it was a grid. It was a hexagonally gridded map of Kryn or Ansalon, and then you'd have all the units, which were little square cardboard tokens. So you'd have like Lord Soth's brigade, or you'd have a Salamnic Knights, and all this, you know, all the units. And that module, you were supposed to stop playing through the adventures, play that war game, and then carry on with the adventures.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Indeed,
a great war game.
Well, you're describing a lot of war games that I have seen. Hex maps and cardboard
it was
counters.
So fiddly as well. You had these like all these hexes and these tiny little cardboard things, and you just breathe slightly wrongly, and they're, you know, you've messed up your game entirely. Yeah. And they didn't quite fit in the hexes either. It's like square cardboard things and hexes. Come on, decide, squares or hexes. But still. Anyway, that was Dragonlance.
That was the Lancing of Dragons.
Yes. If you haven't read any Dragonlance, it's a great time to pick it up. $23, get 23 books.
Yeah, can't complain about that.
Okay then.
Yeah. Oh, it's your favourite topic.
Oh, more news.
Well, Peter, you'll like this one.
Books.
The unbelievable scale of AI's pirated books problem. An article on The Atlantic this week.
Podcast listeners, PJ's face was a picture. I will allow your imagination to take you to the place it went.
I actually had, as far as I can make out, they haven't taken any of my books, which, you know, I'm sort of pleased but also slightly offended by. But I did come across another Coffee's books who I'm not related to as far as I know, but I was like, hey, these people have stolen your books, rude. On constitutional law in Ireland, doing okay coffee.
Right.
A mere £80 on Amazon if you wish to pick up a coffee legitimately.
So I think Ari Marmel, who's a D&D author and game designer, long-term one, said he found 15 of his books on there.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, Andy Peregrine.
Like
found a bunch of his work on there.
Damn.
Well, he's written so many books. I'm not surprised. Like, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, it is RPG books as well. It's not just books on constitutional law. It is you know, and there's millions and millions of books. This is Meta. And the Atlantic says Meta has pirated millions of books to train its AI. Hasn't paid for these books. It's obtained how it actually obtained the books is interesting, because it didn't buy them. How's it done it? Is it like, how did it get the books? They pirated the books in some manner. Yeah,
they've gone through. It's from the LibreGen repository, so it's not guaranteed that if your book has been pirated and put in the LibreGen repository, that it was then used to train the meta thing. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, if they're prepared to like take some books, why wouldn't they take them all? Because it's all just grist to the mill. Like, you know, this is how these models work. The more you throw at it, the better, quote, the better they get. So I believe there's a class action suit going on, but there's certainly and if anyone knows one in the EU, please do let us know, because that Donald Coffee that I mentioned earlier is quite keen on joining in on it, because, you know, rude and probably don't pirate law professors' work. They get knocked about it. I'm like, that's fair.
So this LibGen thing, I'm just reading this here. So apparently it's one of the largest libraries of pirated books online. Has more than 7.5 million books and 81 million research papers.
Wow.
And apparently the team at Meta got permission from Mark Zuckerberg to download and use that data.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
This is according to court documents that were released this week.
Just like fully endorsing piracy. Great stuff. I mean,
well, not just endorsing it, doing it. As soon as you download that, you're pirating it. It's
here's an interesting little factoid. According to torrentfreak.com, you're more likely to find that the people pirating ebooks are extremely well off. They're not the impoverished people that many online pirates often claim to be, but they're in the $60,000 to $99,000 per annum bracket, with about 30% of them making more than $100,000 per year. like that is quite a lot of money, and authors, the people who are making this material, they do not make that much money. Like, just not at all. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
There's like, I saw, yeah, I mean, you just don't get that sort of money as an author, which is fine, but it's like, yeah, and people argue that, excuse me, increased, yes, that is for training their AI.
Yeah, someone just asked in the chat. It is for training, right? Yeah.
It is for training AI, and it's like, sure, but it's just there's really no need for it. So I mean, at least with a pirated copy, if we were going to like try and play devil's advocate, people would know whose work they were getting access to.
It's really interesting. So they've got internal communications.
Yeah.
It shows that Meta torrented LibGen. But sort of old style, like anyone at home on their computer pirating books would do. They did it just like old-fashioned style. They torrented LibGen, accessing the pirated material, but also means they're distributing it to others in the process, because that's how torrenting works. And that's what people tend to get like sued by these companies for like $9 million for pirating one copy of a movie. That tends to happen.
And Metallica, they went absolutely ape something about somebody torrenting their albums. I wonder if Meta is going to get sued. Probably not.
Well, Meta is being sued.
Sure. They'll settle out of court.
Yeah, but they said like the internal communications said that training their AI on LibGen presented a medium to high legal risk, and they were discussing a variety of mitigations to mask their activity.
Wow. Okay. So like, yeah, this is illegal. This is shady. How best can we hide our wrongdoing? Yeah. Probably should have written that down. Top tip, everyone. If you're planning on doing crimes, don't write it down and put it in an email. There you go.
So here are some of the things that they did to try and hide what they were doing, apparently. According to The Atlantic, developers were to remove data clearly marked as pirated or stolen.
Nice.
They were to not externally cite the use of any training data, including LibGen.
Doesn't surprise me.
Fine-tune Llama to refuse to answer queries like reproduce the first 3 pages of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So... And one employee remarked that torrenting from a corporate laptop doesn't feel right.
I mean, yeah, sure. Like,
no notes.
Yeah, like, okay, yeah. It's like, wow, just massive, brazen, disrespectful law and order. Okay, cool, nice.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel that should EM Publishing decide that they want to get into the AI business, probably not a good idea. But if you did decide it, and you also pursued this route, I suspect it would end rather less well for you.
Not being a multi-billion-dollar company.
No.
This is true. Yeah, we don't have plans for that. Funny enough, we've kind of stepped away from that whole thing because we're like, this feels complicated and potentially morally bad. We just will not touch this.
Yeah, good shout.
Wow. I'm sure, at the end of the day, it is a tool, I'm sure, and tools can be used to do bad things, tools can be used for good things, but if it's unregulated, there's nothing to stop people doing bad things with it, and there's no way that I as a publisher can say, oh, this has been used in a good way, and I know that because of these checks and things. There's no way for me to do that. So
yeah, it's great if being right doesn't matter, and it's got a flourishing success in the fields of crime and scams. So yeah, good times. I'm sure there are other uses for it that might be legitimate, and at some point I hope to find one. No luck yet. I'm still looking.
So anyway, that's our AI news for the week. I thought you'd enjoy that.
Thank you.
Love a bit of AI news for the week.
Yeah. Right. Let's keep on the legal side of things for the moment.
Oh, yeah.
The legal things. Because we are a well-known legal podcast. We're all qualified
Yes.
lawyers. and
Legal lawyer
extreme
123 at
experts in-
gmail.com.
Yes. Do not take any legal advice from us.
We are qualified lawyers, has understood in the UK. Absolutely. As much as that term has meaning in the UK, we are definitely qualified lawyers in that respect. Also, nutritional therapists.
Yes,
It has
absolutely.
a twofer.
And medical doctors, yes.
Oh, no. Whoa. Step it back there, Skippy.
Let's edit this out later.
Don't come to us for medical device, legal advice.
Or advice on tabletop RPGs.
Do you know what? Just don't come to us for advice. That's
Yeah.
Terrible
okay?
to us. Like,
Yeah.
We're not competent.
This show is for
fair.
entertainment purposes
Yes,
only.
yeah.
It should be not taken as advice.
That's why it's so fair and balanced. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Moving on quickly.
So there's a law being proposed in Texas. And this law might ban RPGs in schools.
Is this part of like the satanic panic that happened in the 80s? Is this that again?
No, guys. This is Texas we're talking about. When they say RPGs, are we sure they mean role-playing games?
No. In fact, they don't say role-playing games at all. But the way the law's written, it would affect role-playing games. So that's the issue. It's not
so they're talking about the guns.
No.
No, they're not talking about rocket-propelled grenades, sadly.
Okay. So.
Because I don't know if they're legal to buy in America. The rules are very confusing over there. You could get them.
I think rocket-propelled grenades should be illegal in schools. That's just me. Like, I'll take that bullet for the team.
You radical.
Anyway, let me tell you. So, this law will ban students from presenting as non-human or creating clubs related to such behaviour. Those who violate the law can be disciplined up to expulsion or placed in a juvenile justice alternative education program, and schools that allow such behaviour can be fined.
So you can have an RPG club, but everyone has to play humans.
Yes.
No tieflings, no goblins, as player characters.
So
they can exist in the world, but player characters can only be humans.
Well, presumably the DM can't either.
So they
can't exist in the world because the DM would have to play the goblins, you see.
Like, well, I mean, it seems on brand that they'd be against World Book Day and anyone dressing up as a character from Watership Down or anything like that. But okay, yeah, sure. So Texas bans imagination. Good job.
Yes, yeah. So the it's not clear why this happened, but it is apparently inspired, by an urban myth in 2022. That students were being provided litter boxes that they could use instead of bathrooms. This was a myth promulgated by NBC News at the time.
Oh, I mean, there is a certain amount of truth to that, because as we know, for whatever reason, some Americans are very keen on allowing children to be shot, which I'm against again. Sorry, shocker. And so when you're in lockdown because there's a shooting, children will actually need to use the bathroom more. So there was like absorbent material like kitty litter available so that they could use it.
That's not
no. The urban myth was somebody spotted some kitty litter and said, oh, it's because somebody like wants to be a cat and they're using it as a litter box instead of regular changing materials. But the actual truth is, as ever, more informative and much more grim. So there was definitely kitty litter in some classrooms because they needed it. It's not big to satisfy bizarre ideas of children, but yeah, sure.
It was to clean up stuff as well.
Why let truth get in the way of a good idea?
I think they had some at my school because young kids get sick all the time because they're disgusting and they don't wash their hands enough and they spread disease. And so there's always somebody being sick. I was a child once and I was also disgusting. And anyway, but anyone that has a child in school or in daycare, they know that if one kid gets sick, all the kids get sick. But anyway, they had like kitty litter and stuff because if a child is sick in a corridor, it's a really quick way to clean it up. So but anyway,
lace them down, scoop it up, and away you go.
Lovely.
Whatever.
But anyway, so there was a claim that this meant that people they were letting kids be cats and stuff like that, and You know,
Correct. Yeah.
why are they so against the furry community?
No, they are.
Is the real question.
The law's called the Forbidding Unlawful Representation of Role-Playing in Education Act. That's its name.
Is that an abbreviation for something? I'm sorry, my brain's not working, so I can't.
No, that's just what it's saying. Well, yeah.
Oh, okay. Does it form like a nice little
fun
acronym,
word?
At least.
I don't think so.
Forbidding
FURREA.
Like furrier or something. Okay.
Yes, that would be the acronym, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, but this
I don't really know what to say about
law,
that.
It's not a law that's been enacted in any way. It's a proposed law.
Yeah.
Well, I think I like playing tieflings in my RPGs sometimes, and I don't always like playing the human heritage, and so I would not be for this. I have played a human in my role-playing games. That's fine. But sometimes I'm playing pretend and I like to be something else. And I would like to have the legal right to do that in the clubs I go to. I'm not in school, but if I was in school, that would probably be where my RPG club is. Like my nephews and nieces are in role-playing clubs in their schools.
Does Texas not have significantly bigger problems? Like, I don't know, electricity grid infrastructure that maybe they should be working on solving first?
I don't know.
Well, if we start talking about PJ, we're going to get into a whole rabbit hole. I don't think we have the time, energy, and place to go to.
Well, apparently, neither does the Texas legislator. Okay. Texas
Someone in the
to
comments,
prevent the faith from stealing kids. Yeah. Okay. Sure. No worries. Yeah.
Maybe there's an issue in Texas.
I cannot wait to see. I cannot wait to see the comments on this.
No.
It'll be wonderful. Anyway, because as we are known for being the extremely far right and extremely left wing
at the same time,
at the same time, news outlet. Anyway, should we have some other news?
Yes, let's have some other news.
Let's talk about Origin Awards.
Okay.
So these are some TTRPGs that are going to get awards at Origins.
Mm-hmm.
That's a piece of news. Thank you very much. We're done.
Oh, good. Brilliant. Thanks.
No. But yeah, so here's some of the finalists we have. So we do have Eat the Reich, even though it said Eat the Rich on the press release, but I think that's a typo because it's Eat the Reich.
Mm-hmm.
So there is also the Blades in the Dark Deep Cuts as well, which is a system expansion there. We've got Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, and I love this box set. It's on my wish list. It's so beautiful. There's Cowboy Bebop role-playing game, Arkham Horror, Mothership Deluxe, Pathfinder Core 2, the Dungeons & Dragons player handbook as well, Star Trek Adventures. So there's all these, that's the kind of RPG core ones. The supplements is what the Blades in the Dark one is, but there's loads of supplements as well, like the One Ring, Star-Crossed, Through the Hedgerow. So there's loads of really good games on there. So if you're looking for some new RPGs that to explore, going to the Origin Awards is like a really nice list of games that are quite well critically acclaimed. So you can take a look through there and see if any of them tickle your fancy.
So the Origin Awards are in June, so you won't find out who the winners are until then, June the 18th, I think, this year. I can't remember exactly, so they got the two categories, because the Origin Awards, like unlike the Ennies, which are all tabletop RPGs, the Origin Awards are all tabletop stuff in general. So there's only two RPG categories, which is the core book and the supplement categories. But that's there's about 10 nominees in each category. So there's a list of 20 things to look at. Yeah.
So it's quite a nice list, and we'll announce who the winners are in June when that happens. But I just thought I'd share the nominees because they're out now. But so that's happening along.
Yeah.
Groovy.
Marvelous. Right, what else have we got? We're probably coming towards the end of the news now, actually.
Ooh, sorry, I did something weird with the layouts there if you're watching live. Push the wrong button. We're coming near the end. Let's have a look. Ravenloft.
Oh.
Yeah, well, this is interesting because Random House announced a Ravenloft novel that they announced last year.
Oh, is it the same one?
We already knew about this, We already knew about this. We talked about it last year. But they just
announced
it again. I thought
this was a follow-on.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I thought it was new news.
No, it's not new news.
Okay. Sorry. Correct me. Explain
it's just been re-announced for some reason. I don't think we had a date for it. Maybe that's the reason for the announcement.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
okay. I'll allow it if they've actually said, okay, we're ready to launch now. For those listening along at home, we've got Ravenloft, Heir of Strahd by Delilah S. Dawson, a New York Times best-selling author.
Mhm.
It's got, I presume, Strahd and Castle Ravenloft in the background. He's got...
You think?
You
A
think
glass
that?
of red
I don't know.
wine, maybe. He's
Liquid.
holding.
Yes,
Maybe
probably
it's red
definitely
wine.
red
And we've
wine.
got
Yeah.
Yeah.
a
What else
group
would
of
you have in a
adventurers,
wine
including
glass?
a blue tiefling, a white tiefling with a bat, some sort of green chap with a little phoenix, and a very happy-looking lady with white hair. So there we go.
Yeah. This is coming out May the 13th, apparently.
So it's set in Ravenloft, obviously, and you have 4 adventurers. They get an invite to Strahd's castle. And I'm sure everything
The
goes fine.
standard
and I know
Ravenloft plot,
issues.
basically. They're all the same plot. Like Adventures goes to Ravenloft, gets an invite to the castle.
Chaos ensues. If it don't broke, I mean, if it works, stick with it. But okay,
Yeah.
so that news that it's coming out then is the piece of news.
Yeah, the characters in there, we've got Rockfrog, an Orcish wizard,
Lovely.
Shivarian, a Drow barbarian, Alishai, a Tiefling paladin, Kar, a Kenku cleric,
Love a
and
Kenku.
Filey, a human artificer.
Yes, there we go.
So that's
Desperate to try and make artificers a thing. Good for them.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
buy Dragonlance books or Ravenloft books. There we go. Lots of novel news this
Wonderful.
week.
We love those.
Yeah.
I do have one last piece of news, which is a
Yeah, I
Paisley
think we're pretty much at
news.
the end, but yeah.
Books. Pathfinder books. New
Oh,
releases. If you like Pathfinder 2nd edition, and they've got the NPC core book, and there's different cover versions of them that we're showing you on screen if you're watching live, and if you're listening to the podcast, there's pictures of them in the article link that you can see. Like one's a full color, one's like a sketch, and then one's like a plain cover with gold detailing.
It's hard to make out from the pictures because it looks like there's some sort of fight on the steps up to a citadel. But
Yes.
beyond that, I can't tell you. I can't see.
Yes, but it looks very nice.
It's a mess.
I do love that sketch
it's
cover.
It's a busy
really like
sketch.
sketch.
But anyway, so there's new releases. There's the Pathfinder Lost Omens Rival Academies. So it takes you on a journey to all the academies. So it's different students, athletes, and wizards to build up your own academies with NPCs and things like that. And then there's more for the Pathfinder Adventure Path. We've got A Voice in the Blight, The Godstrain and the Dragon, Breaking the Crucible, and Lacking Respect, some more adventures. And also the Pathfinder Monster Called Battle Cards is a box of reference cards as well that's coming out. So these are all the kind of new releases from Pathfinder.
I think it's a super useful book, that NPC core. It's a really useful idea for a book.
Yeah. So this has merchants, devotees to gods, it's got different villains. But yeah. And they've got sets of adjustments so you can change their ancestry levels and stuff. So if you see something that you like but doesn't fit in your campaign, they've got rules on how to tweak them to make them fit your campaign, which is useful.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I do like an NPC book. So
that's kind of what we're doing with the What Sort Is New bestiary, because when you have a bestiary that covers 3 different genres, and then you basically have a guard, you can either do 3 very, very similar guard stat blocks, which the only difference is the equipment they use, or you can just provide a guideline just saying, just switch the crossbow for a pistol sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the approach we're taking.
Absolutely, yes. Another thing with Paizo though as well is they're celebrating Women's History Month. So they've chosen some products in their store that feature women on the covers or that have women as the main central characters in the books, and giving them 25% off March 24th. So from today till March 24th, there's 25% off select books there that feature women in their lore, which is interesting because when I originally saw this, I thought it was going to be for the books that had women writers or contributors, but it's about the characters themselves. So I misunderstood that a little bit, but I said it right on the screen.
All right, I think we're at the end of the news.
We are near at the end.
Did we have anything to announce?
Well, we have had a question.
Mm.
They said a question. Is there anything new planned for A5e Void Runner?
What a serendipitous question.
Yes. Russ, do you want to announce? Well, for context, if anyone wants to know what we're up to at EM Publishing more generally, once a month I do a monthly update where I do live streams very similar to this, where I talk about everything EN Publishing, so all that news. And I just did that yesterday on the 20th of March. So if you go to Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you can see that. And that's about half an hour of me going through everything. So if you want to go into depth about that, that happens. But Russ, what would you like to announce?
Well, it's not really announcing because we've already announced it, but
not on a podcast.
We've got more details, I think. Alpha Star magazine is going to be the official magazine for the Void Runners Codex.
Yes.
It's going to be similar in scope to the Gate Pass Gazette, which we do for A5e Fantasy. It's going to be quarterly, though, not monthly, this one.
Yeah.
We got a lovely logo. Have we got the logo to show? Or
I don't have it here, but I have the link, which I'll put in the chat, which shows you. Well, I didn't know we were going to be talking about it, so I didn't.
No show from the logo. Sad times.
I can tell you what's going to be in the first episode. It's not an episode. It's a magazine.
It could be an episode if you want.
Yes, magazines.
An episodic magazine.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is all on the back of kit page anyway.
Yeah.
So you can go and look at that, and this is already listed there. So we have got Making It in a Hostile Universe, which is an article. That one has a couple of new cultures and a couple of new destinies, basically about kind of getting by, not being like the top echelons of society, getting by kind of in the Undercity or on the streets. So that's fun. So it's got a couple of destinies and a couple of cultures there. We've got Tech of Ill Repute, which contains a number of different tech items which you could purchase on the street, like sort of credit skimmers and just sort of like slightly dodgy equipment that you might pick up on the street, which is kind of cool. We've got a new heritage, the cat-like felines, which people who know my What Sort Is New game may be familiar with the felines. So they that's an article going to be written by me. New heritage for What Sort Is New. Not for What Sort Is New, for Void Runner.
Yes.
And finally, we have 3 new archetypes: the bioengineer, which is a scientist archetype; the peacekeeper, which is a trooper archetype; and this last one hasn't got a final name yet. It's gone through Madcap and Frenic as names, but I'm not sure what it's going to end up as. But which is a Cyanite archetype, which is an untrained, slightly wild Cyanite. Cyanite is the word I'm saying. Cyanite. PSYK. Yes. Yeah. Cyanite.
A proper Slay Industries won't mind, I'm sure.
Yeah. But you can sign up on the back of it and you'll be notified when we launch. We're planning on launching the magazine after we finish the physical fulfillment for the Void Runners Codex box set, which we're in manufacturing now. I did an update this week on the Kickstarter if you're a backer, so you can read about logistics and fulfillment for that. But once the physical copies are with everybody,
I mean, we actually got the digital print proofs through to like literally an hour before this show started.
Yes,
which we haven't had a chance to look at yet.
So once we approve that, we'll get the physical copy and then get it printing, get it sent around to everybody. And yes, that's the plan.
Yes, I'm hoping we'll have some to show at UK Games Expo this year.
That is the plan.
It's not guaranteed, but
that is the plan. And I'm getting feelers out if any backers would like to pick up their copies at the UK Games Expo to see what numbers those are, to see if I can make that happen with logistics. Because that is my fun of doing logistics. And
we'll also have Monstrous Menagerie 2 there, which is kind of cool.
We will. I got a confirmation today, literally today, regarding shipping for the Monstrous Menagerie that it'll be in the UK at the end of March. It then isn't in the US until May because of shipping boats and extra time allowing in port, because things going through port at the moment with customs are staying there a little bit longer for some reason. Anyway, and I found the logo for Alpha Star, which is on the screen there. And if you're listening to the podcast, if you click the link, it'll be there. But yeah,
There we
so
go.
that's our EM Publishing news. But if you want to know more EM Publishing stuff, if you go check out yesterday's stream that I did on our various video channels, then you can hear in detail more about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is there any information about how shipping to the US will be affected by the tariffs? Someone has asked. No, we don't know yet, because when we ship them, we don't know what the tariffs are going to be like.
To clarify,
it still changes every day, you know.
So to clarify, if you have backed a Crowdfunder and paid for your shipping already, that won't change. So we're not going to charge you extra when it arrives. If we've already charged you and you've paid for your reward, we're just going to have to eat that cost, because we've already agreed the price with you and you've paid for it, and that's that done. For future campaigns, we're pricing up different things to reflect that, but that's kind of difficult to do. But if you have already backed and paid for your shipping and for your reward, you're done.
I mean, at the moment, a book printed in Europe and shipped to the US won't be affected by any tariffs as they stand at the present. But,
no,
you know, who knows?
We're very aware that could change. So yes, so if you've already backed and paid for something, we're not going to be changing that. For future crowdfunding campaigns, we'll put the information of what we're going to do there. It may be at that time we'll have different arrangements, I don't know, but we're not going to come back to you being like, more please, sir, because that feels unfair for us to do.
Anyway, we pretty much end. One last thing I want to say, and I'm going to say this each week until it happens now, so that everybody knows well in advance. At UK Games Expo, as we have done the last 2 years, on the Friday at what time, Jess?
2 p.m. So it's the same as this stream.
2 p.m. We will be doing a live show before a live audience. It never goes wrong. Nothing ever goes wrong when we do that. Ever.
But it's at the UK Games Expo. The details are on the UK Games Expo website. If you go to events and podcast, where one of them's on there, it's 2 p.m. It's free to attend. So if you've got your UK Games Expo ticket, there's no extra cost. And if anything else, it's somewhere to sit down for an hour or so after wandering the halls. Yeah, and it's at 2 p.m. So you could even bring your lunch if you want.
Yes.
We don't mind.
So, yeah, we don't mind. So yeah, we'll be live
just don't
recording
sit
there.
next to the microphone chewing.
No, please don't do that. Yeah. So but yes, so we do that at 2 p.m. And also I'm running a game of Level Up Advanced 5th Edition on the Saturday, and there's currently 2 tickets left. So again, that's on the UK Games Expo site, so you can sign up to that. I'm doing the Valley of Despair from the A5U box set, and the box sets will be available for you to purchase.
I'm looking forward to UK Games Expo this year. It's going to be
we've been making plans for it this week. If you can't tell, we've been making arrangements and doing stuff for it. So yes. Anyway,
right, I think we're done.
Should we leave?
I think we'll get out of here. Let's go and have a weekend.
All right. See you next week, folks. And just remember, next week it'll be 10 a.m. Eastern time, because the UK has not moved to daylight savings.
And then after that, it will switch to 9 a.m.
Yes.
Okay,
bye.
Bye.
Bye. Or just listen to the podcast whenever. Bye.
All the tabletop role-playing news, we aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG.